Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Atlas Lingue, the show that's all about language, culture, and communication. I'm your host, Luis Lopez. For this episode, we talk to Beverly Adaeze. She's a content creator, travel vlogger, wedding MC, and hairstylist born in Lagos, Nigeria, and raised in Houston, Texas. And her content is a great mix of travel tips, Nigerian culture, and humor, especially in her audience's favorite character, the African auntie. In our conversation, we talk about her different talents and how they benefit each other, as well as some of her favorite trips, including a life changing year in Colombia. So, without further ado, here's our interview with Beverly. Beverly, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So I'd like to start by asking you a bit about yourself. So I was saying you were born in Lagos, raised in Houston. What was that like? What were some elements of your upbringing, your family, your school, your neighborhood community that planted the seeds of your eventual work?
So, when I came to the United States, I was 7 years old. So, I was
Okay.
just this kid, full of life. I didn't even know what was going on. I just knew that we were moving to a new place. And so, with just being in Houston, now Houston has a very large Nigerian population as well. So, I
Okay.
never felt like I was missing out on culture because there was always and there still is a great Nigerian community. But my parents were very much so, focus on your books. This is the path. You do your books, you go to school, you go to medical school, and
Yeah.
that's just it. You create a good life for yourself because we brought you to this country. So that was pretty much a lot of what my upbringing was.
I see. I mean, you mentioned this large and active Nigerian population in
Mhm.
Houston. What do you remember growing up about that? Like, I don't know, what sort of like how was that seen in terms of how you absorbed the Nigerian culture around
Mhm.
you at that time?
So for where my parents are from, um, we're from different villages in Nigeria. So whenever
Hmm.
people migrate to a new country, to a new state, they typically try to find each other. So
Right.
for example, if you were to move to Switzerland, it would be the equivalent of you finding a Latin community, Hispanic community there, and you
Yeah.
all form like a group. So the people that are from my father's village, they've all just kind of formed a community here. And when I was growing up, we would have meetings. So
I
meetings
see.
every, like, maybe once a month. You would just go kind of mingle with the other kids, and they would just talk about things that they want to do back home, and just it was a way to just build community. So that was really a lot of what I remembered growing up. Would go to people's weddings, graduations. It was kind of like, okay, if this person is celebrating, we all celebrate with them. Whenever it's your turn, everybody comes together and we celebrate you.
Right. And was there also an element of I understand what you just said about like mostly hanging out with and meeting people from the same village, right? But was there also an element of like I don't know, maybe like a sort of melting pot of people from different Nigerian communities as well, just because they were all abroad and sort of like had this thing in common, even though back in Nigeria their families and communities would have been from different places.
I think so. So the meeting that I was just talking about, that is from a specific village, but just
Right.
in general, whenever my parents would meet someone Nigerian, they would just try to, form this relationship. And even in churches, sometimes
Right.
in churches, it would be a predominantly Nigerian church, but you would have different tribes and people
Hmm.
from different states. So that was kind of like like the hub spot for different tribes and people to come together.
Right. And what kind of artists or creators would you say were like a great inspiration to your work when you were growing up? Musicians, filmmakers, writers, etc.
To my work, well, I'll say this because I really did not step into content creation until like maybe like recently. So
Okay.
but I remember we had there's a guy called Flavor. We had Awilo, who was actually Congolese, but I
Hmm.
mean, they still play him till this day at all the parties, all the weddings, and his
I
music
see.
is still as hot. So that, and then just you have a few gospel artists here and there that kind of bring back nostalgia. So there are a few artists for sure. Now we have the new ones, the Burner Boys, the Whiz Kids, and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to start talking about like one thing that I particularly love about your content, which is these
Hmm.
videos where you embody this character of the Nigerian auntie or
Yeah.
grandmother, elder, which I love so much. I love how like you transmit so much of culture through humor and through like all of these little uh, short, sweet moments, right? And
Yeah.
how did you come up with that idea? How much, how does the influence of your own life experience and just knowledge about everything in your upbringing and surrounding appear in these sketches?
Oh, really? A lot of it is just from observation.
Uh-huh.
I would say the African auntie, the main one that I play is a combination of my mom, my grandma, my aunties, and then just like, the African aunties all around. I just kind of combine all of them into one
Right.
dramatic character. And so just really life experiences. And it's crazy because when you're experiencing those things at the time, they're not as funny. Like African aunties judging you and saying, "Oh, you
Right.
put on a little bit of weight." It's not funny then, but when
Right.
you talk about it now, it's we can all relate to it, and so it's kind of like we're laughing at our pain.
Yeah. No, I love it, and I love that you also sometimes even have like these videos with a sort of ensemble cast of characters, right? Especially
Yeah,
when you have like I don't know, a group of Nigerian women at church, like at a fundraiser or something like that, where you even
yeah,
get to like play around with
with
these
different.
sayings and reactions, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's the fun of it. And even now, I'm like, as the more I do these skits, the more I'm like, "Ooh, let me talk about the auntie that does this, or the uncle that
Yeah.
may do this." So it's fun. It's fun.
What's your what's your favorite part about making those videos, would you say?
I would say the my favorite part is really seeing everything come together, and then once it's uploaded, going through the comments to see the little things that people might pick
Right.
here and there, because different things are going to be funny to different people. So I just love seeing what others probably thought was funny to them. So
Right. Like what kind of comments or reactions do you particularly enjoy when people like notice certain things?
people will say the most random things. Like for some people, the polo shirt that I wear, it just kills them every time. They love it. They think it's so funny. For some, it may be like a saying or just a facial expression. So there's just so
Right.
many different things because people are looking for what relates to them and their
Right.
upbringing and what they could kind of tie into. So this is usually funny. It's usually funny reading through my comments.
Yeah, and I guess on that note, since like obviously it's so rewarding to see people notice things that
Mhm.
I guess like some of them might have been very intentional and obvious, and some of them like it's not that they weren't intentional, but that you maybe weren't expecting that they would get that much of a reaction or be that
Exactly.
noticed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes people point out stuff and I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't really my intention, but okay, cool. You thought that was
Yeah.
funny. No problem.
So I guess so how do you like think of all of these things at a time? Does it like just sort of come naturally and like just the way you speak and act and dress and everything, or how much are you actually thinking of like, oh, I'm gonna add these little references for
Hmm.
like for people to be aware of, right? Like real ones know like that this is
Yeah.
how we do it or that sort of thing.
I always tell people I think the reason my content hits and it's genuinely funny is because I don't force the funny. I just let it come to
Right.
me. It's just part of my experience. I literally I don't sit at a desk and I'm like, oh, I need to do a part two to this video because I need to, it's just whatever comes to me. And sometimes I'll just be maybe I'm spending time with my mom and she'll just do just one thing and then it brings about a whole skit. And so
Right.
I'm like, oh, I want to do that. So I think I just allow it to come to me naturally from experiences, or sometimes there may be like a trend on social media going on. And my mind is like,
Yeah.
what would an African do in this scenario? And then I'll do that.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of that? I'd love to know, like, maybe something that happened in your, in your life where you like, where your mom or someone said something, and then like, how did that process, like, how does that process look? It becoming a video, like a TikTok sketch or something.
Mm. Well, I won't say my mom, but let's say there's I think one of the more famous ones that I've done or the more popular
Hmm.
ones is the one that birthed the phrase international slay mama, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that one was from the African braider who usually is just trying to sell you her business. She doesn't really know how to do the hairstyle, but she's gonna, she wants to do it. She's not gonna turn down business. And I
Right.
think just being in the hair shops and just really like, sitting there quietly getting my hair done and just listening. I'm
Yeah.
able to now, and just observing the little things, like the little kids come in to ask for your snacks, and
Yeah.
so I'm able to go back home and then put that in a skit, and people are able to relate because this is something that happens pretty often.
Right. So just I guess like the environment where it happens, right? The
Hmm.
ambiance and like how like maybe it's I guess it's funny not necessarily in a way that like you're like always laughing, but almost always kind of like bringing a smile to your face as well, right? Like
Yeah,
remembering these things.
exactly. Nostalgia, really, because a lot of it is really about the Nigerian American experience and like our upbringing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're able to kind of pick a few things like, oh, okay, I can relate to that.
Do you have any of the sketches that you've done that you're particularly proud of for some reason? Maybe like you didn't know if you were going to be able to pull it off and you did, or like just proud of how it turned out, like the reaction it got, or something like
Oh
that.
man. I feel like I have a good amount. Like I said, the one of my top ones is the one where I said the phrase "international slave mama" because it
Right.
birthed this thing, right? Um,
Yeah.
but then I also love there's one I did with the African aunties, kind of being passive aggressive and kind of feuding, kind of throwing
Yeah.
shades. I love that one. That one is a go to. Random, but the plantain video.
Oh yeah.
That was just something funny enough. I was actually going to go on a social media break, and I was just like, oh, let me just do this quick video real quick. So I just did
Okay.
it, and I uploaded the video, and then I logged off, and I wasn't on social media for like 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
I remember getting a text, and my friend was like, "Oh, like congratulations on hitting 1 million views," and I was like, "A
Oh
million
wow.
views?" Now on TikTok, that's not too hard to get to, but on Instagram to get 1 million views is
Right.
crazy. So I was like, wow. I mean, I knew I loved plantain, but I didn't know the whole world loved plantain as much. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that one, and I also really love the one where the auntie is an Uber driver and
oh yeah,
and picks up an Uber passenger and like makes her do all these errands and stuff. Like that one was also
yeah.
hilarious for all of its exaggeration and everything. It was
Right.
fun.
And I love that you as someone who's, of Latin origin, you're able to kind of relate to that in some way, shape, or form. I feel
Yeah.
like really all for the foreigners or immigrants, whatever we may call ourselves, those that migrated to the States, whenever I see content, even if it's like Indian American or something,
Hmm.
there's something that I'm able to kind of relate to. And I'm like, wow, we're actually more similar than we are different.
Yeah, and I love that because you were mentioning earlier about how about the video where like the different aunties and grandmas like are throwing shade and all of that and like sort of feuding and one upping each other and all of
Yeah.
that. And I remembered this video by Jenny Lorenzo that she made
Mm.
about like old ladies, old Cuban ladies at a funeral or a different or like at church or something like that. And
Hmm.
it's very similar to that, right? So I loved that one very much, and I love this one as well. I don't know. I was just sort of like speaking to that thing about how these are like kind of universal experiences that we can all just enjoy, even if we
Yeah.
don't share a background or a community.
Right. Exactly. Because one thing about the antis, they're always going to throw shade and shots, and they're going to be passive aggressive all across the border. So,
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. So, continuing to speak about your content, but now maybe a little bit more about the travel side. I
mhm.
really love your travel content as well, and I wanted to ask you more about, what motivated you to start, well, not just traveling a lot worldwide, but also documenting and sharing it online.
To be honest, if I could go back, I would start recording way like before. I started
Okay.
traveling really at 20, like around 21. It was right before I graduated from undergrad. And
Okay.
it was my first time because normally all I knew was Nigeria and Texas. So Nigeria
Right.
would be the only place that I would ever go to. And so when I studied abroad in Spain, I took that leap because I was so afraid. I was like, oh, it's too much money and this. But I took that leap. I got a scholarship, studied abroad
Wow.
in Sevilla, Spain for three
Oh,
months. And
cool.
then after my program, I went backpacking by myself for 10 days from, Italy to the Czech Republic.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think I was just so mind blown. And I think it just opened up this new world like, wow, this world is so big. There's so much that the world has to offer. And my
Yeah.
goal now is to encourage people to travel, and not just the luxury travel you see on Instagram. Because when I travel, I'm usually on a pretty decent budget, but to see
Right.
the world, there's so much that we can learn. And I think traveling is such a great teacher. So that's one of my
Yeah.
goals. And also it allows me to upload different content so that I'm not put in a box of just only skits, and you get to see more
Right.
of my personality and things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, because I love that. Like in your well, your content includes like all of these things, right? Like, yes, we do have the skits which are hilarious, but we also have the
Right.
travel, which just offers a very different experience, right? But then, of
Hmm.
course, like you also are traveling and obviously looking at things and reacting to things from your particular Nigerian American perspective, right?
Right,
Which I think is
exactly.
really
With the
interesting.
commentaries, yeah, and I like that. Like I like that I get to add a little bit of commentary here and there. And sometimes I just post a travel video with regular sound and just let the visuals kind of do what they need to do. But I do like to take people on a journey.
Right. I love that. So, um, what are, I mean, I'm sure there's many because you've, of course, traveled to a lot of different places, but what are some places that you like particularly enjoyed going to and perhaps even sharing your experiences with the rest, with your audiences? Just because maybe you weren't expecting to enjoy them as much as you did, or just,
Okay.
because you really enjoyed them?
Yeah. Well, of course, Colombia has a special place in my heart
Right.
forever. That
And I
is
do want to ask more about that in a moment, but yeah.
Yeah, but I loved Italy. Italy was
Okay.
really nice. Hong Kong was great. The best ramen I've ever had has been in Hong Kong, and I almost don't want to
Ooh.
try any other ramen because I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah.
So that's a great place too. Italy, Hong Kong. Where else? There are a few places that I would probably want to go back to. Guatemala. Guatemala
Okay.
was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. You were in Mexico as well, right?
Oh
Some
yeah, yeah,
sometimes, yeah.
yeah.
And yeah. No, and
South Africa
okay.
was best
South
too.
Africa, right.
Yeah,
You posted a video walking with lions as well, right? Which
yeah.
looked so amazing. How
One
was
time,
that?
one time only.
Right. How was that
it
experience?
it was a once in a lifetime thing. I was like, "Wow, am I really here?" I think in my mind I thought maybe, they would have the lions on some kind of leash or something. But when
Right.
they opened the gate and the two lions just they're just roaming around, and I'm like, "What did I
Wow.
do? I was like,
Yeah,
"What did this
yeah.
girl get me into?" And just like they feel so majestic. They're so beautiful. They're
Yeah.
huge. They're big in
They are,
person.
yeah.
Oh man, it's just like, wow, am I really doing this? But I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I did. And I'm glad that
Yeah.
I'm here to tell the story.
Yeah. That was in South Africa, right?
South Africa,
Yeah.
yep. The same
Yeah,
place
no.
with the hiking that almost took us out.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I like that you like, your content focuses so much on these experiences, right? Like the hiking or the lions or
Yeah.
like all of these like very, obviously very visually interesting things, right?
Mhm.
And also there was also one that you did in Colombia. I don't remember exactly where, but like you also like went up sort of like a hill or something, and then like someone prepared this little like sort of dessert for you, and
Oh, yeah.
you just showed the whole process and everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess like I really like that, how we really get to see all of what you're doing and what you're
Right.
experiencing through your
True. And
content.
then you also kind of get to hear what's going on in my head at the time through like the
Yeah,
commentary, like the African, like my Nigerian commentary. So that's something I actually want to do more of this
yeah.
year. I haven't
Uh-huh.
traveled since January because I was focusing on my birthday, but now that that's
Right.
done, I plan on probably next month. To be honest,
Okay.
I love the travel vlogs, and I love being able to share that experience. So.
Yeah. You mentioned like your Nigerian commentary when you're doing your content, and I mean
Mhm.
I see it in your different kinds of videos, and I guess I wanted to ask you about that because I love how you do that. You're like constantly sort of like switching between your American accent and your Nigerian accent.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more about that process? Like, do you switch to the Nigerian accent when you need to say something, uh, like from a Nigerian perspective, or how
Mhm.
does that work?
I think the best way to explain it, well, one, people think that I do that for social media, but I'm like, no, that's how I talk to my friends.
Okay,
It's kind of like, what is it called? You're talking
like
to your,
code switching.
yeah, I guess code switching, but slang, because I know
Right,
my Nigerian friends, my African friends don't understand it. But the
right,
best way to put it is usually my brain just automatically knows to switch to my Nigerian accent because whenever it's an accent, it's usually what I'm kind of thinking of, you know,
right.
that it's going on in my mind that I probably wouldn't say regularly, but it's what is really going on in my mind, So it's like my
Yeah.
inner thought, my subconscious, my inner thoughts,
Yeah.
like my
No,
true
I feel
thoughts.
like I guess I could relate to that. Like, I mean, if I'm thinking in English and then something
Hmm.
suddenly I see something that surprises me, I would be like, "I weigh," like something
Exactly,
like
exactly,
defaulting, or but yeah, I
exactly.
guess that would make sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, so I understand from what I've read about you in your website and on your social media that one of your goals, as you were saying, is to inspire others and especially women to travel and explore the
Yeah.
world. And could you tell me just a little bit more about how you do this, how you aim to do this? Through your contact with your audience and through your videos and all of that.
Really just traveling more and showing like just the beauty of these places that I travel to. I know on Instagram, like I said earlier, it's easy to go and see luxury travel, which I'm not against. I believe
Right.
one day by God's grace I want to experience, some luxury travel, but I try not to show things that's too luxurious because it can be intimidating to some people. They're like, "Why I can't travel because I can't afford the five-star
Right.
hotel or I've never flown first class," So
Right.
I show them the beauty of the culture, and a lot of times, of course, being safe, being wise. I want to go to where like the locals are. That's safe,
Hmm.
reasonable. I want to show the local foods. I don't want to go to Costa Rica and then eat McDonald's. Like I want to show
Right.
you Costa Rican food, Costa Rican fruit, things like that. So that you can see that there is a world outside of your hometown, and hopefully it can like
Yeah.
drum up some excitement to travel to these countries. So
Yeah. No, of course. I love that. Like a very local experience as much as you can get, right? And I think
yes,
that's amazing.
yeah,
So, okay, so now I'd like to ask you. You mentioned it just earlier in the interview, but but you lived in Medellin, right, in Colombia for some time,
yes,
and
yes.
as we mentioned when we contacted you, Studio Chenta is a mostly Latinx company, and many
Mhm.
of us. Not me, but many of us are from Colombia or have roots
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like? What
Yeah.
did you like? What surprised you? Could you tell me about
Oh
how that was?
man. I love Colombia. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to treat Colombia like I treat Nigeria and probably travel once a year because it's
Oh
just
wow.
I don't know, it has a special place in my heart. I love Colombians. They're very
Hmm.
nice, very, personable. I just love being able to live. I lived a simple life there. I was like, I don't want to live where the expats are. I'm trying to live
Right.
like with the Colombians. I want to speak the language. I want to eat the food and learn, like live like a Colombian.
Right.
Um, I don't know, just waking up in my apartment and just seeing like the beautiful mountains. Like in Texas, I love Texas, but it's like I don't see mountains when I wake up, but there I'm able to
Yeah.
just see that and absorb all of that. The food. Now I was surprised because I think my mind was
Mhm.
thinking Mexican food
Right.
and spice. Well, they actually don't do spice like that. They don't
Right.
like
Right.
food that's too spicy. And so I think that kind of surprised me, but I love the experience overall.
No, of course. What? So, could you tell me a little bit about like what motivated you to go to Colombia in the first place? Why did you decide to move there first for a while?
It was really my trip to Spain that I did
Okay.
in undergrad. That just showed me that wow, there's a lot to see in this world. And actually, I was going to try to go to Germany. I was going to
Oh.
say I wanted to live. I knew I wanted to live abroad for about a year as an adult. So I thought of
Okay.
Germany. I was like, okay, I need to let me study some German. But then I went to Colombia for my 26th birthday, and I was like, oh, I love this place. I love it. I fell in love. One of my coworkers at the salon, she was like, I know you're going to Bogota, but definitely go to Medellin. You're gonna love it. And she was right. I took I was in Medellin for 2 days during my
Mm-hmm.
birthday, and I loved it. So I went back and I was like, I want to do life here. I want to
Oh
experience
wow.
it here, and I think it was a great place to do that. And yeah,
And what was like what was your first reaction when you got there when you started, yeah, after your maybe first day or couple of days there?
oh man, I was like, am I really doing this? Like, I literally just packed my bags. I said I was gonna do it, and I'm here. I did not have an apartment at the time. I was just doing like Airbnbs. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I guess we're here and we're
Yeah.
gonna do this. So it was surreal, but it was I think it built my character. So
Right.
even now when I'm thinking like, oh man, this is so challenging, I'm not sure. I'm like, girl, you literally packed your bags, went to a whole nother country where you knew nobody. I didn't know anybody. Like we had
Right.
Facebook groups and stuff, but it wasn't like I was going to stay with a friend. And
Right.
I made it work. I put one foot in front of the other and I just made it work. And so
Yeah. It really was an adventure of sorts, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
No, that's
And I
amazing. And
think and
yeah,
I
no,
think
go
that's
ahead.
why Colombia means so much to me. Yes, the culture is beautiful, the people and all that, but I think it was just the growth that happened and just
Hmm.
discovering that wow, you're actually braver than you think you are. So I think that's part of why I love Colombia so much.
Yeah. So you were on exchange in Sevilla in Spain, so you
Hmm.
had already learned Spanish, I presume, right? And I
Yes,
don't know if you even learned it from before that or how that was, but like I wanted to ask you
hmm
about your communication there, like how you felt with speaking Spanish over there and all of that.
in Colombia or in Spain.
I guess in Colombia, maybe in both, but maybe particularly in Colombia, as we were talking about that one specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my minor was Spanish, and I look
Right.
at language as a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And
Right.
so by the time it was time to move to Colombia, I was like, man, I need to strengthen my Spanish. But I knew that being in that country, being immersed in that culture was going to help me strengthen my Spanish.
I
And
see.
so being in Colombia, I was just like, I would talk to the taxi drivers, the Uber drivers.
Yeah.
So I looked at it as like a little mini Spanish lesson, whether for 5 minutes
Yeah.
or 10 minutes. And it was just good. And they were very patient with me. And,
Uh huh.
they would like let me say things. And then you just learn to pick up. Like right now, I would say I understand more Spanish than I can speak. I still have to think,
Right.
when it comes to speaking it, but I can understand,
Right.
but I
If
want to
someone were
get
to
to a
talk to
point.
you in Spanish, you would be able to understand
Yes.
it well. Yeah.
As long as they're
Okay.
not speaking too fast.
Okay.
Habla más
Yeah.
despacio. But
Yeah.
yes, I think my Spanish is pretty good, but I would like for it to be better. I would love to be fluent in Spanish.
Okay. Do
Mhm.
you have a favorite slang word or like word from Colombia from when you were there?
Oh man, I can't think of one at the moment. Maybe give me some time. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
I'm sure there is, but I just have to think.
Maybe one will come up.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
But I wanted to ask you about that. I love that. I mean, within your the travel section of your content. I like that in your Colombian videos. I think I guess because you live there and were like there for a longer time, we get to
Hmm.
see like different details of your life there. Like perhaps something that would be more like day to day activities. Like I think
Right.
you took a sewing class and you showed us that, and right. And so like
Hmm.
I guess those would be different experiences from ones where you do like very short term traveling and that sort of thing, right? So,
Exactly.
what was that like? To be able to like show something more of a daily life kind of like everyday, yeah, experiences in
Yeah.
your in where you were living.
I enjoyed it. And to be honest, people would tell me, people would ask me, oh, can you post like more of like what you do there? And I'm like, my life here is so simple. I
Right.
literally wake up, go work out, come do some work. Maybe I'll go to a coffee shop and come back, cook. It was very,
Yeah.
very simple. But I did want to, I liked doing like different little creative activities, picking up little hobbies. So
Hmm.
that I can kind of show people a little bit more. But my life was so simple there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do
No.
a daily vlog because I'm like, it's gonna be the same thing every day, and I liked it like that.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Um, so I noticed in one of those videos, you went to an Afro-Colombian festival,
Ah, yes, yes,
and
yes.
I really liked everything, like everything that you included there, like the music and the fashion and just like everything that was on display. So what was that like? And I also wanted to ask you, like, would you say that it's a goal of yours, whenever you can, to like showcase these sort of like African diaspora events wherever you go?
Yes, I think now it is
Hmm.
because even me, I knew that there were a lot of Afro Colombians in like Cali,
Right.
Colombia, but in that fest, I was like, wow, there's a lot here in Medellin. I guess, I didn't see them enough, and so they would
Right.
all come out, and it was just really nice to showcase because normally people probably wouldn't think that there are a lot of Afro Colombians. Even for me, if
Right.
not for like me speaking, a lot of the Colombians there, like the paisas, they would think that I was Afro-Colombian until I said something, you know.
Right.
Um, or even things like when I traveled to Brazil, I was
Oh,
actually
okay.
very shocked at the amount of like Brazilians that look like me. So I
Right.
think it's important to show people because I would have never known.
Yeah. Is that also something I don't know, notable when you travel, like the places where you just do not feel foreign,
Uh-huh.
at least not until you speak and like you people notice that you have an accent or speak something else.
Hmm.
But like, is there something about that about like being comfortable in a place where you do authentically look like someone from there?
I think so, especially in a
Yeah.
place like Colombia. I feel like I could blend in a little bit more. I didn't stand out too much.
Right.
With being American, I'm like, my goal wasn't to stand out or be flashy. I just wanted to blend in with the Colombians and live life like Colombians.
Of course.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to the phrase that you mentioned earlier, "international slay mama." I was going to ask you about its origin, but of course, like you already mentioned, it's from one of the sketches. But
Hmm.
I guess I wanted to ask you a little bit more about like what made it grow so much to the point of it being like such an iconic phrase, and that you use it as a sort of slogan, or just like it's something that's representative of your content and of you, I guess. What made
Right.
it grow to that point?
It's so funny how that came about because I knew in the skit I was going to use Slay Mama, right? Because,
Uh
that's something
huh.
I've heard before, like, oh, Slay. But
Yeah.
my friend, funny enough, I was on the phone with her and she was talking to her little kid and his name is Noble. And she was like, oh, no, no, international. Like she just kind of was, like making him feel proud or whatever. She said the
Hmm.
international. And I just was like, when I was making the video, I just happened to say it. And I was like, oh, I kind of like how that sounds. So
Yeah.
it's actually really ironic that now it's being looked at as this phrase that kind of has a little bit of travel tied into it because I am a traveler. So that was
Right.
actually was it was not planned whatsoever, but it works. And so
It
now
does.
it's a phrase that I can use to kind of represent women that are traveling, that travel, but
Hmm.
they're fabulous while doing it. And they're seeing different countries and so I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I love
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Um, Great. So I guess I have one last topic of conversation and question
Mhm.
before we go to a very quick lightning round. So this would be I want to ask you about your work as a hairstylist, of course.
Mhm.
I want to ask you when did you start doing it, and when and how did you discover that you wanted to do it professionally? What are some of your goals, some of your philosophy, and your approach to hairstyling?
I started braiding hair when I was about 11 years old because I was an only child at the time. My
Okay.
brother didn't come until I was 14. So I had nothing else to do. I was bored. And so
Okay.
my mom actually bought me a mannequin. Funny enough, it was actually the mannequin that was on my screen, but I've already shaved
Oh.
her bald. So I've had that mannequin since I was 11 years old. And so just out of boredom, I just learned how to do hair. And in high school, I did a little bit of hair braids for people. Then in
Hmm.
college, that's actually how I was able to even like do things that probably other college students probably wouldn't be able to do, like buy organic. And just it
Hmm.
was like a side job, but it was for a college student, it was pretty decent. And so
Yeah.
once I graduated from college, or right before I graduated, when I was in Europe, I was like, you know what? I know my parents want me to do this, but I really enjoy hair. I love the art of it. So I got my degree and then I went to get my license in cosmetology. My parents were not happy
Hmm.
because in their mind they wanted me to do something else. But it's like we brought you to
Right.
this country, we want you to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. But I really wanted
Yeah.
to do this. And so with doing it, I love the field. I love the art of it. Now I don't do it full time anymore because I'm more focused on content, but I do actually do monthly pop-ups for like my old clients and just because I love the art of it. But I found that
Okay.
it's hard to do that full time and travel and host and create content and things like that. So I kind of had to sacrifice. But who knows in the future, I may still want to dive into it, whether create products and things like that. Hair has a special place in my heart as well. So.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand that like it was something that you did, of course, to like to help you get through college and like be able
Mhm.
to like you know have I guess like yeah, just some more money, right? And however, I see that it's just more than just I guess a gig or something for money,
Yeah.
right? That there's really a passion in
Yeah,
that as well,
no,
right?
I'm a licensed hairstylist. Even as I had my own salon suite. I
Yeah,
owned and operated my salon suite. So even now that I'm not behind the chair full time, I still keep my license going.
yeah,
So yeah, it's more than just like a hobby. I
yeah, of
enjoy the
course.
art of hair. Yeah.
And would you say it's also like a vehicle for creativity? Like, are there some hairstyles that you particularly enjoy because they're like a challenge, or that you love how they look, how they
Yes.
turn up?
Really, color is my specialty, and what's funny is color was what intimidated me the most in
Okay,
cosmetology school. I didn't even do color in cosmetology school because I was so afraid of it. And so now in chemistry, when I was in undergrad, it was a challenge for me. So it's funny that now with color is chemistry. That's my specialty. That's what people come to me for. And
right.
so it's just really cool to see how things play out. So
Right. So I mentioned that this was a last before the lightning round, but I mean, you did mention one thing about hosting, which is
mhm,
something that now that I'm remembering, I didn't mention earlier, but
mhm.
I've also seen some of your videos where like you share clips of weddings that you host, or events that you host, and I really love those because they always seem like they're a lot of fun, and like there's so much energy, and like it's these all these huge parties, and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that as well. Like, what do you like about hosting, about doing those events, about like being able to, you know, yeah, like be like a like not focus, sorry, but like be part of a party, and like really be able to like, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, just host something like that, and bring a lot of energy to the table and to a
Yeah.
venue.
Well, I mean, weddings are going to be one of the most memorable times in a couple's lives. And so the
Yeah,
fact that I'm part of that memory, like they're going to look back at their videos and pictures and remember seeing me there. So I don't take it lightly.
right.
Whenever I am planning on what to do for a wedding, I customize it to the couple. I want
Yeah,
what's going to make, even if it's a big wedding, I want it to feel small in a sense that I want
right.
everyone to feel involved, like you were part of that day as opposed to I'm just there talking, running through the program. I want to
Yeah,
do
like an
interactive
intimacy,
game.
right?
Right. My goal is to see the couple smile and laugh and, dance, and not just the couple, but the audience as well, the guests that are
Right.
there, the young ones, the old ones, to make everyone just feel involved. And it's funny because I used to have a fear of public speaking.
Oh,
And
okay.
so the fact that like this is what I'm doing, and I feel like I get better each and every single wedding. I
Yeah.
learn, I'm more confident with speaking, and so it's great for public speaking. So
Yeah. I can imagine, yeah. No, I
yeah.
wouldn't have imagined that you had a fear of public speaking, seeing
I
as how,
did.
like, you seem so confident in
Yeah.
these videos, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so, now we'll move to the lightning round. So it's just
Okay.
4 very quick questions.
Okay.
Um, First one, are you more of a morning person or more of a night owl?
I'm a morning person. I prefer, not even that I
Okay.
prefer, but I feel like my life is better when I get up earlier and get things done
Okay.
earlier. Yeah. I don't like staying up
Awesome.
late.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, neither do I. Um, what would you say is an underrated fashion trend that deserves more love?
Ooh, I feel like simplicity and that minimalist style.
Okay.
Um, just being able to put it together a simple white top, maybe khaki pants, something simple because it never goes out of style. It's classic.
Right.
And so I love, other trends, but that classic minimalist style, always superb.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next one. What's a high school or college course that you didn't realize you were going to love until way after you started it?
Probably chemistry.
Okay.
Ooh, actually, chemistry I didn't like until after college, but I would say anatomy and
Uh-huh.
physiology while in college. I
Okay.
really enjoyed it.
And how did you eventually grow to enjoy it?
Anatomy and physiology, I don't know. It just, I think that this is when I thought I would be a doctor.
Uh-huh.
But even still, I just learning different parts of the body and why this, operates this way and, this affects this. And it was really interesting. Very
Right. Like
interesting.
it might have seemed intimidating at first, but like
Hmm.
eventually you found it interesting.
Yeah, I looked
Yeah.
forward to the classes for sure.
Awesome. And final one, what's a country that you haven't visited yet and would absolutely love to?
Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Japan and South Korea, but Japan. Yes.
Right.
I can't wait. Maybe next year. Oh, in Thailand. So
Okay.
many.
Yeah, I can imagine there's so many.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'll knock him out.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this with us. Just finally, uh, could I ask you to tell us, where to find you on social media, or where we can find your content, and also if there's anything else you'd like to share in terms of like projects that you're working on or anything you'd like to
Yeah.
plug.
Yes, you can find me on pretty much all social media platforms as Beverly Adaeze. That's Adaeze on everything. I am looking to grow my YouTube platform a little bit more.
Okay.
And then I also want to refocus on my podcast called No Longer Rugged Podcast. So that's available right now
Okay.
on Spotify. So, yes, you can definitely find me on there.
Perfect. All
Yes.
right. Well, that's it then. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Beverly.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Beverly for talking to us. I loved getting to know more of her process as a content creator and about how to manage accounts with such diverse types of content, from beauty to travel to cultural humor. And it was so much fun to learn that the African auntie has such a global following and resonates with people of all sorts of cultural backgrounds. You can find Beverly's content on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Beverly Adaeze. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Ochenta Podcasts and on TikTok at Studio Ochenta. Thanks for listening.